Hey everybody, and welcome to WretroMania, a pro wrestling podcast. Retrospectively, we take a look back and fantasize, romanticize, and wrestle with your sports entertainment fandom. I'm your host, artist and entertainer, Coby Nida, and I'm joined, as always,
by Jimmy Price.
Yes, indeed. And we're here to bring you the Origin of Attitude. This is episode 4, so if you haven't heard anything else, please go back and listen.
Yeah, and to everybody who has been checking it out on Mole Radio, thank you very much. Please feel free to reach out to us at any time. We are just getting started.
Yes, indeed. And we're diving into an area right now. We're at late May 97, and we're going to go towards July and hit us off at the tail end of Canadian Stampede and right into SummerSlam 97. So we can catch up with the timeline that we intended to, so we can follow it retrospectively, 20 years in the making.
Yeah, we'll be following the timeline directly from here, through the end of 97. We're caught up, so I think the plan is to go bi-weekly, and it will be matching up directly with where they were at 20 years ago. So we'll be finally caught up after this.
Exactly, and then we'll have some bonus episodes. Jimmy will bring along some friends. I will bring along some friends as well, and we'll relive, romanticize, and wrestle with their sports entertainment fandom.
Absolutely, yeah.
Some of the greatest or not so greatest feuds or matches, or something from nostalgias.
Yeah, something that was meaningful to them in their development as a pro wrestling fan.
Exactly. From nostalgia's end, we're gonna bring it in here. So this is episode 4. Last episode 3, we left off with Stone Cold, Steve Austin, and Shawn Micheals. They're about to team up against the Hart Foundation. For the tag titles.
Yep, going for that tag team gold, and they make it very well known that they have a distaste for each other, but they have a greater distaste for the Hart Foundation.
Yes, indeed, and that's their linkage right now. That's the only thing that's bonding them. And as you noticed, I don't know, Shawn Micheals has kind of gotten more into the realm of the attitude himself.
Yeah, definitely turning it up to 11 as far as, openly discussing his personal life and the personal lives of, Bret Hart and some other individuals in the locker room.
Right. That's what we covered last episode, too, was the sunny days comment of Shawn Micheals to Bret Hart.
Yeah, and there's going to be some big consequences shortly for that comment.
A follow-up on that comment, actually, Sunny did a shoot interview, and she claimed that she never did anything with Bret Hart. They had a kiss. They shared a kiss, and she said it wasn't the greatest kiss. So it's not the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be of kissers. But,
didn't excellently execute that kiss.
But around this time, she was banging Shawn Micheals.
Yeah.
And
a few others, I think.
And Chris Candido,
who
she was with, who would soon pass away due to a lot of issues, but some of their relationship. She claimed that she chose Chris over Shawn at this time, and that's kind of why Shawn was pissed off and made those comments in a way.
Yeah, so you could kind of get at both of them with one foul swoop and sort of mess things up in their personal lives respectively.
Right. So that's a little insight there. Anything else going on in the world right now? 97.
Drawing a blank. I mean, Hanson's hitting it big at this point. Are we talking about when you said the world? I'm thinking like big.
I guess, yeah. We should look up stuff like that.
Big picture.
Hanson is probably hitting it big right now.
In the world of wrestling, we have WCW continuing their dominance in the ratings for the time being, riding on the strength of the NWO.
Right. It's kind of getting a little overplayed, but then they have the Sting angle coming up, which will be good, which will build towards the end of the year. And this is going to be one of their best selling shows, and as far as pay-per-view buys, and as far as house buys too.
Yeah. This is right in the era of Sting not showing up to wrestle or cut a promo, but just ominously standing, in the rafters of the building, and just he's got the crow makeup, but hasn't said anything yet. And they did a really good job of building it slowly with him. So they're working towards their big show at the end of the year, at the same time as WWF is undergoing some major changes.
Major changes, man. This is crazy. They also had the show Livewire air at the end of 96, I think, or
yeah, it was in that neighborhood.
And that's more of a breaking kayfabe show. So you get more behind the scenes, and you had Paul Heyman call in, you had some other people call in and make notes to WCW and ECW, and just insider stuff, more into the world of Dave Meltzer and behind the scenes.
Definitely, yeah. And I think this was hosted initially by Jim Ross, and
yes.
So it was. I remember I would tune in as a kid, but it was all over my head, being 7-8 years old, in terms of a lot of the insider stuff. But I still was intrigued by it. I remember.
Yep. So we're getting that little break. I remember seeing a couple episodes and just being confused. I like the same as you. I just didn't get it.
Yeah.
But we'll see how that ties in later, because they're really breaking characters here. Beyond the norm of WWF is what they would do. Usually a guy has a name and he sticks with that name. Never reveals his other name. All right, let's get into it. So we have May 26th, 1997. This is episode 211 of Raw. We start off the show with Stone Cold and Shawn Micheals, and they're arguing about who's going to be the team captain. And they're already not having good chemistry.
Yeah, just who's going to be the top dog in the team to sort of alpha males, button heads leading into this tag team match.
And then we get the Legion of Doom. They come out. They say if Austin and Michaels win tonight, that they want a tag team title shot.
Yeah, and Shawn guarantees it to him without talking to Austin. And I think there's a great moment where Shawn says that, and Austin gets one of his classic reactions strung across his face. Did you really just promise Legion of Doom a shot right off the bat?
Mm-hmm. And then we have the Hart Foundation. They come out. Bret is not in a wheelchair, no crutches with him, so he's looking all right.
Get back to full strength.
This actually leads into a match between Brian Pillman and Jim Neidhart and the Legion of Doom.
Yeah,
it's an all right little scramble.
Yeah, it's not much to be seen. I think was this Pillman's first match back?
I think so.
Yeah. So I mean, it was a big deal, and that was his first televised match. But not a whole lot to see there.
And he's still kind of ginger.
Yeah, the ankle is what, and unfortunately for the rest of his career and his life, would continue to give him problems and limit him. And so we never really got to see, what he was in his WCW days. We never got to see that in WWF, and that's just. I think if Brian Pillman could have, would have been able to, stay alive and stay active in the WWF, could you imagine the type of run he would have had in the Attitude Era? Could you imagine
I think he would have been the Stone Cold.
Yeah. I mean,
my opinion.
Yeah, if not the Stone Cold, then definitely 1A to his sort of level of success, because the things he could have done and the promos he could have cut, the guys he could have worked with, he would have been huge.
It felt at this point in time, it felt like Bret kind of wanted to step out of wrestling anyhow, but he's got this big contract, and it's leaning towards a Legends deal, so it's going to wane down the days that he performs.
Yeah.
So he wants to go out carrying the torch one last time and give back, and he's definitely taken Pillman under the wing because he's an associate with the Hart Foundation. And if Pillman stayed healthy, if all things went accordingly, I believe it would have been Stone Cold and Pillman rivaling a lot.
Yeah.
And then we could have gotten, if it worked out, Shawn and Bret, rivaling too.
Yeah.
Like you said,
The
1
possibilities.
and 1A.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Into the match, we have Legion of Doom setting up for a Doomsday device, and the Hart Foundation stop it for a DQ. And HBK and Austin come down for the save, and HBK runs into Austin on accident. It's setting up some tension between the two.
Definitely.
Later in the night, we're going to get an interview with Stone Cold, but he's jumped by the Hart Foundation. And then we come back from a commercial, and Austin is going to check on Shawn because he's going to chew him out. He's like, you didn't have my back, but Shawn has been attacked. So, they're both not looking out for each other, and the Hart Foundation's getting the best of them.
Yeah, outnumbered and divided is not a good combination.
Exactly. And Hart Foundation are showing their more healer side. They're attacking people. They're dastardly now,
Definitely.
Yeah. This is also the episode where we have the famous Mick Foley, the first part of the Mick Foley and Jim Ross interview. It's Mankind in a mask, though.
Yeah, but it's Mankind. It's really Mick Foley and the Mankind mask is sort of like the vibe of the interview, and I remember these like really having an imprint on me, watching it at a young age. Just the rawness of it. And the they get into his whole backstory and the way that Foley delivers some of these answers to his questions and the intensity that he has. It's some of the great interview segments that were done that year.
Indeed. He suggested that he wanted to do it with Mankind, the mask, rather than just be Mick Foley straight up and kind of break this character.
Yeah.
Right there, and I think it's a brilliant touch.
Yeah, sort of how did Mick Foley become Mankind in kayfabe?
And we'll build on that about who else he's become or will become again.
Yeah. There's gonna be some additional faces.
Yeah. The main event of this night, it's a tag match. It's about 10.5, and it's a hot tag to Austin at the end, and it breaks down. Some mayhem, and Shawn comes in with a sweet chin music on Bulldog, and Austin jumps over for the 1, 2, 3, and we have new tag team champions.
Yes.
So Austin and Shawn did it, despite
all their differences. They come out on top with the gold, and now the focus is how are these two going to continue? Now they have to continue to try to work together now that they have the belts. So
right. Before that the show can end, the Foundation does a number on them. Austin could really care less about Shawn, and he sees Bret, and he tackles Bret, and he hammers the knee with the belt, and the Hart Foundation chased him away, and Shawn is left completely motionless in the ring. But Austin is celebrating, saying he did it himself.
Yeah,
going up the ramp, basically.
Yeah, it was all him.
I did it all by myself.
He's the tag team champions.
Yep. The actual boring main event of tonight. Well, not too boring, but it's Paul Bearer. He's revealing there were 3 graves in this situation with Undertaker.
Yeah.
You want to bring everybody up to date with what's going on between Undertaker and Paul Bearer?
Yeah, so this goes back to SummerSlam of 96 when Paul Bearer initially turned on Undertaker in the Boiler Room Brawl match against Mankind. And so they feuded. He represented Mankind and Vader for a short period of time as well. And so then Paul Bearer sort of went away for a little while. And he was the Paul Bearer that we knew throughout the 90s with the the dramatic makeup and the high pitched shrieking. Mm-hmm. So then we get into the middle part of 1997 where we are now, and Paul Bearer's back, but he's not wearing the makeup. He's just out there in plain clothes. He's still got that shrill voice, but it's not as exaggerated. It's just his real voice. And he's saying, he's cutting these promos saying that he has this this information on the Undertaker that he's, kept buried for so long.
He's a murderer.
Yeah. Exactly. And so he's just sort of teasing that, and very slowly, because like even in this interview, like he says he's gonna reveal it, but he doesn't do the big reveal yet in this one, right?
He says that there's 3 graves.
Yeah.
Not 2.
Yeah.
So that means that there was somebody else.
Yeah. So he did the Undertaker. The story is that the Undertaker set his parents' funeral home where they lived on fire, killing both of them.
Yeah.
And now this allusion to a 3rd grave is creating a little bit more intrigue.
Yes, indeed. The Undertaker seems confused, but also pissed off. He's like, God damn, this goofy ass storyline.
Yeah. Well, it would go to make everybody. It would turn out to make everybody a lot of money. But
man.
It was interesting too. Like I was hooked. I was like, what is the deal? Like
me too.
It's
like a murder. What? Like, what's going on? 3 graves? Who? What?
Yeah, it's like I don't know. It might be the closest that WWF ever approached like a not just soap opera, but like murder mystery type of storytelling. Almost like, I don't want to say almost on the same level as Twin Peaks, but sort of approaching that territory. At least with this storyline, it's some fascinating stuff.
I mean, wait until we get to the great line by Vince McMahon where that's gotta be.
That's gotta be.
Yep. It's really great. You're right. It's a groundbreaking little mystery that gets solved. This is the Go Home Show coming up next for King of the Ring. This is episode 212 of Raw is War in the War Zone. This is June 2nd, 1997. Take us back to last Monday where Austin hit Bret Hart in the knee. And they say that Bret Hart's knee is re-injured. So,
a lot of injuring and re-injuring going on during the summer of '97.
Yeah, so the match won't be happening with Shawn. And there's Shawn and Austin on split screens, and they're arguing. And Bret says to Pillman, don't face Austin at King of the Ring. Let Shawn Michaels and Austin work it out between each other. Yeah. They should face each other. And they're down with that. And Austin's going to kick Hitman's crippled ass after he beats Shawn because he had the King of the Ring and he's going to be, he's going to beat Shawn's ass at the King of the Ring.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Then later in the night, we have Shawn Michaels and Austin against the LOD. And that's the match that they promised them.
That promised title match, yeah.
Yes, indeed. It's a decent match, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll admit I have to go back and rewatch this one.
It's one of those where it's like a super card type match. But
yeah, you got 4 Hall of Famers in the ring, and But I mean, to be fair, I think LOD at this point in their career was, were not the, as smooth as they once were. Not that they were ever like, super technicians in the ring, but there was a time, in the late '80s and early '90s, and that they were, they could go in there with guys like the Four Horsemen and
work a decent match.
Yeah,
I think it's because Austin and Shawn kind of want to save their bump card. These guys are both having some injuries and some stuff going on with them.
Yeah, everybody has a bump card.
Yep,
even the greats.
Actually, there's rumors that in the match that Shawn and Austin had with Owen and Davey. That Austin injures his neck, and this is actually pretty severe.
Yeah.
And he goes and he gets a consultation, and the doctor says you should never wrestle again. And he's got severe erosion on his neck.
Yeah.
So this is even before a terrible incident with him happens later in the year.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't know if this is build up to what happens later or...
Yeah, I didn't know anything about this personally. Like, I assumed like a lot of fans probably do, that this, this match that he has, later in the summer is, it's a gnarly injury, and a lot of people assume that's the beginning of his neck issues, but it probably goes back to this early part because it's I've been reading through some of the old Wrestling Observer newsletters, and there's allusions to Austin being being banged up as early as June, including specifically Meltzer mentioning his neck.
Yep.
So this is probably more so than maybe not more so, but this is the beginning of his neck problems that would eventually put an end to his career.
Yep. And around this time too, Shawn is saying that Austin claimed he was going to try to get off some time for claiming an injury, kind of similar to how Shawn did in a way.
Yeah.
But Shawn had the complications with the knee, but you have to go through doctor things, but it's all kind of iffy on both ends, if you ask me.
Yeah, and there's politics being thrown in and used and maneuvered in terms of like all these injuries and everything that they're everything that's going on, even the legit injuries. Not to say that like any of these weren't legit, but there's, at the end of the day, there's so much politicking going on. Mm-hmm. that definitely plays a role for all of our our main focuses.
Yep. Into this match with LOD and Austin and Micheals, 7.5 minutes, and it's a count out. And HBK and Austin tussle at the end, and they get separated, and Austin hits his knee into the ring steps, and that's building up for their match at King of the Ring. And that's what's up next. King of the Ring, June 8th, 1997. Do you remember this one?
I do, yeah. Remember, this was another one that I was able to tape on the old black box. It was a good show. That I wasn't as interested in the tournament this year as I had been in years past. It ended up being pretty good. You have Hunter Hearst Helmsley and Mankind in the final. And they they put on a great match, and that sort of continues their feud that would go throughout that summer that produced a lot of good matches. Don't remember being as into the tournament as I was. Definitely interested in seeing what happens with Austin and Micheals, and it turns out it's not the greatest show, but it's a pretty decent show overall. Yeah,
there's a couple good matches. The 30-minute match with Owen, Davey, and the LOD.
Yeah,
and that's okay. Then we get a good match between Mankind and Triple H.
Yeah,
I like that one. They use the scepter, and they smash it over Mankind's head.
Yeah,
Triple H in China. Of course, he's using China at this time.
Yep.
This is nice because he's like a big dude already, and he's kind of already dastardly. But now he's got this big woman who's doing even more stuff for him.
Yeah, and he's hiding behind her, and it just adds to the sort of the old school heel heat that he was still getting, despite the fact that we're increasingly moving into this like post kayfabe territory.
Right, and in some way, it kind of reminded me of like Shawn Michaels with Luna.
Definitely, yeah, that's a good comparison.
She was kind of dastardly. I don't know so much with Shawn Michaels and Sherry. She didn't really get involved too much. She had the love angle with Rick Martel and then the Marty Jannetty stuff. That was about love stuff. But talking about somebody who interferes like Luna.
Like when she shows up at WrestleMania 9 and just beats the hell out of Sherry.
Yeah.
And like throws her around. Yeah. So that's actually a really good comparison. I never really thought about that.
Yeah. So we got a new King of the Ring. It's Triple H. He should have won this last year, kind of.
Yeah.
Right?
He was planned to win it, and that was taken away from him via punishment. He was left holding the bag for the curtain call incident that we discussed previously. So he's paid his dues. He had to job out to Warrior. He had to job out to a bunch of people, but he's worked his way back into Vince's good graces, and he's getting this push that he should have gotten a year ago.
Yeah.
But went to Austin the night that Austin 316 was born. So
exactly. So now it's finally time for Paul Levesque, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, Triple H, to get it going. We get the main event. It's Shawn Michaels in Austin. But before that, Bret Hart comes out, the Hart Foundation, and they challenge any 5 wrestlers who want a shot at them at Canadian Stampede, July 6th.
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So we'll have that match, I guess.
Set the table.
If any 5 Americans can step up to the plate.
Yeah, and Bret also says he's going to do color commentary in this promo, but ends up not happening because there's like some sort of tussle at ringside. So they end up getting sent back to the locker room before Austin and Michaels can make their way out.
Yep. So Austin and Michaels are out. HBK and Austin, they're whipping each other. This is nice. This is a great match. We get a similar spot to WrestleMania 14, which is kind of foreshadowing, where Shawn Michaels goes for the Sweet Chin Music, but it's caught by Austin into a stunner.
Yeah.
But we have no referee. So the referee is down. Austin goes to lift that referee, and he gets a stunner on that referee. And then he turns around and gets the Sweet Chin Music from Shawn. Then we have another referee, Mike Chioda, come down. That referee comes down, and Shawn hits Mike Chioda with a Sweet Chin Music. So then we finally get the original ref who comes up, and he covers for Shawn. And then referee Earl Hebner, and he throws the whole match out. And he claims it to referee abuse because they've been Sweet Chin Music and stunnered.
Yeah.
And it's 23 minutes, and it's a great match, but neither guy can take a pinfall right now.
Yeah, they got to keep the heat on both of them. So I mean, a lot of the fans who were definitely the ones in the building, and a lot of people watching, like the only negative reaction at the time to this match was the finish. But yeah, if you go back and watch it, it's just this is the the match that they were both capable of. This was like, once you get to WrestleMania 14, Shawn is just so messed up, and his back is just screwed at that point. So the WrestleMania 14 match, while it provides some good moments, isn't too great. But this is like, if you want to see HBK and Austin before injuries sort of took their toll on their respective careers, they go at it for, like you said, 20 plus minutes, and it's a technical masterpiece, I think.
Yes, indeed. All right, we're gonna lead into this next part, the night after the King of the Ring. I'm gonna read from Bret Hart's book again. I'm gonna take you back to June 2nd, and then we'll go straight from here to the King of the Ring and the night after.
Okay.
At Raw in Huntington, West Virginia on June 2nd, I had an in-depth talk with Vince. He told me that the company was in financial peril and that he was only just hanging on. The next 6 months would either make him or break him. He said Ted Turner was hell-bent on putting him out of business, and he told me he might have no other choice but to restructure my contract. Of course, I'd still get every dime he owed me, but I'd get it on the back end, years down the road. He added that he appreciated how hard I had worked for him, and he told me not to worry about anything. I sure didn't want to receive the money owing to me now at the back end of my contract, so I did call my lawyer to see what my options were if Vince tried to do that kind of move. But when it came right down to it, I didn't believe that he ever would. This is a lot of building right here. This is a lot of things. Ted Turner's hot on their ass.
Yeah.
And Bret is a number one guy, but he's getting paid a lot. And I don't know if Vince can necessarily afford that. This is where I think there's a work set in play, because he knows he owes Bret that money, and he wants to see it for him on the back end, because Bret's given him 15 years.
Right.
And they respect each other. And I think they come up with this idea for this work, for this whole plan, because we've heard the Canadian, the attempts to where he won't wrestle on American soil, stuff like that. They're trying to find a way to get rid of Bret from the WWF, but still have his contract intact, or break his contract and let him go to WCW and receive a lot of money. And they know that WCW will eventually be a sinking ship if they can perfect this next phase of their Attitude Era, because they already have it set.
Yeah.
I mean, you already brand yourself way ahead of the time, or ahead of the curve, and they've been using the term attitude for a while now. They've definitely bought the rights to WWF Attitude or something by now, you know?
Yeah.
This is where we're getting into it. Like, he definitely will see it on the back end, because if he gets screwed over, he's going to be the hottest wrestler in the wrestling game on TV, and then they can make money off of it years down the road, and he can return later and have a rivalry, you know, with either Shawn or Vince, if it goes accordingly.
Right.
And we may see signs to that later on down the road. We may not.
Yeah.
Continuing on, Bret's book. King of the Ring went down on June 8th, according to the new plan. So that's the new plan, you know, Shawn and Austin. No Shawn and Bret. So Bret saves his wrestling in the United States for another time.
Yeah.
The next day, we were all supposed to be at Raw at Hartford. Shawn was nowhere to be found. I happened to mention to Jim that as soon as I saw Shawn, I was going straight to him once and for all. I never thought Jim the Anvil Neidhart could be a voice of reason. But he got a worried look on his face and pled with me. Please, I just got back here. Don't do anything now. God, Bret, I need this job. Just forget about it. What could I say? I resigned myself to not beating the shit out of Shawn.
So Jim the Anvil Neidhart, probably the first and only time he served as the voice of reason, and only to his own benefit. Don't screw this up for me.
Please.
I need this.
God, Bret, I need this job. About at 6 p.m., I went into the bathroom to gel my hair before going across the hall to tape interviews. I was surprised to see Shawn's reflection go by me in the mirror. I could see he was uptight, so I smiled casually and said, "Hey, Shawn." He cut me off. "Fuck you! You haven't talked to me in over a fucking month. What makes you think I'm gonna talk to you now, Jack?" I added the Jack, but
it was probably there, implied if nothing else.
Yes. Even though the hair gel was all over my hands, I was primed to go back to my original plan. But Shawn vanished through the doorway, past Crush. Oh, Kona Crush.
Yeah.
Who was lacing his boots up, who heard the whole thing. I set out to find Shawn, but he was gone. I paced around backstage and area until Owen, Davey, Jim, Pillman came out to find me. I know Shawn's watching somewhere, waiting for me to leave this room, I said. I'll bet you the second I walk out here, he'll walk in. All his stuff's in here. Watch. I crossed the hall, walked into the interview room, cracked open the door to peek back into the hall. Shawn strode past me into the dressing room. He was bent over fixing his boots when I marched straight up to him. I pushed him to his feet. "You got something to say to me?" He flicked a weak punch at me and missed. Balancing awkwardly on my good leg, I popped him one in the chin, rocking him in his heels. He came for me, so I grabbed him by his long mane and pretended I was doing a hammer throw at the Olympics. I was dragging him around the room when a hysterical Pat and frantic Lawler ran in and jumped on top of me. Can you imagine that? It's Pat Patterson and Jerry Lawler frantic. Oh my God! Ah!
Jesus Christ!
Hey!
Oh my God!
Yeah. Unable to pry me off, Pat shouted for another wrestlers to help, but Davey and Crush had no intentions of shaving Shawn. It was nothing but a scritch fight, really. But when we were finally separated, clumps of Shawn's precious hair fell from my hands. I blasted him, Don't fuck with me or my family, you little fucker. Shawn looked ready to burst into tears, and he stomped across the hall to Vince's office, shouted loud enough for everyone to hear Shawn's quit, saying that it was an unsafe working environment. Then he stormed off, slamming doors behind him. Vince looked like a jittered lover whose boy toy had up and left him, but he told me that he had not only been inevitable, but it was long overdue, and that it was his fault for not dealing with Shawn sooner. He told me to take the night off. I felt silly to have to come to blows over something so stupid, but while everything in wrestling was supposed to be bullshit, that bullshit was everything to me. Before Raw was off the air, Vince was hyping the inside story on the backstage brawl between me and Shawn for sale for fans on his 900 number. Wow.
Yeah.
And he had said, basically, Bret and Shawn had been taken out of the building for unprofessional conduct.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. So this, what Bret says in the book matches up pretty closely to what was reported in the June 16th Wrestling Observer newsletter. With Bret starting it, I think Bret says he pushed him. Some people were saying he threw the punch first. But I mean, it was definitely initiated by Bret, precipitated by Micheals. Yep. And then, so as a result, so Shawn goes crazy. He storms out. This happens, according to this report, he left the building at 7:57 p.m. right before they're going on air. Yep. So the entire show has to be rewritten at this point. And as a result of that, and then also Austin is banged up. He tweaked his knee in a match at a house show recently. So there was this big match that was supposed to happen between Pillman and Austin, like the big not a blow off, but the first time they go one-on-one in the ring. With their entire history going back to Pillman has a gun, going back to the Hollywood Blondes,
and the swirly last night at King of the Ring. The
greatest defense is forget about the home invasion and everything. You don't get the swirlies involved. That's right. That's a step too far. So yeah, they have to they move everything around. It ends up being Pillman versus Mankind. But it just leaves everything in disarray, and all their long-term booking plans are in question, because as of now, we don't know if Shawn is serious about leaving or trying to leave. And there's reports going back to May, the month before, where he had sat down with Vince, with his dad, with Shawn. It was Shawn and his dad sat down with Vince and tried to get Vince to let him out of his contract so he could go to WCW.
Yeah, in Shawn's book, he says he arranges the meeting, and then the first thing that Vince McMahon says before anybody else can get a word out of edgewise, he looks at Shawn's dad and says, "Your son, I believe, has a pill prescription problem."
Wow.
Yeah. Taking control of the fucking situation. He's working these talents. These are the two top guys that he has, man. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's not big enough world for the both of them, and he's counting on either Shawn or Hart. And I think he's aiming more towards Shawn because he's younger, but he's got this fucking addiction problem.
Yeah, yeah.
And Shawn, he's like, fuck it. He's got some money too.
Yeah.
You want to explain that? Yeah,
so I actually just found out about this today. Apparently, in 95, he was asked about this in 96, but there was a wrestling fan who apparently was some sort of huge multimillionaire, because this fan who never met Shawn Micheals, didn't know him at all, personally. He was just a big fan. Mm-hmm. This guy passes away and leaves Shawn Micheals in 1995, mind you, $2.5 million in his will.
That's a lot of drug money. He's snorting that shit up.
Yeah, it went straight up his nose for sure. But yeah, he leaves him that money to this man that he never met, that he was just a huge fan of, in his will. And so Shawn has that, and he's like, he's got that. I mean, who knows how much of that is put away, or
I don't think that much, because you got to look at it. This guy, within the next 2 years, or from getting that money within the next 2 years, he kind of he's on a self-destructive path.
Yeah.
Because of that money too, and because of the job as well.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe he did put it away. Maybe he's smart.
Yeah, I mean, he ended up being fine. Obviously, years and years of main events. He's set regardless. But it was just, it's just a crazy.
WrestleMania.
Yeah, exactly. But it was just a crazy thing to, And he was asked about it in an interview before the 1996 Royal Rumble, and immediately gets defensive and pissed off and says to never bring it up. Which I don't blame him. It's a weird spot for him to be in.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would do if I was.
I'd accept it gladly, but I'd feel kind of awkward.
You feel weird, and there's not a lot that's known about this guy who left him the money. So maybe it was a situation where he didn't have any family, but yeah, just nothing. I mean, just $2.5 million to old HBK. Yeah. If you were gonna leave, not to say that you would anybody would do this, but if you had to write one wrestler into your will, who would you write into your will?
Oh man, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Man, I guess one that kind of needs it.
Yeah. It's weird. It's just a weird. It's a weird concept.
I guess Bret, but he doesn't need it.
Yeah.
But then I'd be like, eh.
Yeah, it's just such a weird thought to you.
I want to know about that fan.
Yeah, I want to know this guy's life story. It's fascinating to me. But
who would you donate your money to?
I don't know. Yeah, obviously, I don't think it's something that either of us would ever actually do. If I was forced to write one wrestler into my will, yeah, I'd probably think along the same lines of somebody who didn't, never really made it and who needed the money. I don't know. Maybe I don't even know. I'm trying to think of I would leave it to Delirious.
Okay.
I would write Delirious into my will. Hopefully. Okay. Delirious has some excellent legal representation. They all speak gibberish, so I think that would work out well.
Nice. That's just strange.
Yeah. So anyway, so Shawn's got some money, but now after this fight, that this is throws everything up into the air.
Yeah, and going back to what you said about the May thing, it's an argument about money in general. Shawn wants more money.
Yeah.
So maybe he is burning that money up on the back burner from 95. It's 97 now, so we don't know. Maybe he did buy a house or something, but
and I think a lot of it is wanting to make as much or more as Bret
and be the top guy, because he gives his body, he gives it all. Bret says, continue on, he says, Jack Lanza told me that Vince had known a real physical confrontation was coming before I did. See, Vince knew all this shit was happening, because Shawn had told him he was going to punch me as far back as May at the Evansville Raw. But if I couldn't tell if Jack was trying to stir me up. I tried to put all this out of my mind, including Vince's talk. He wanted to renege on the financial terms of the contract. But I did my best to heal up before the July in your house, which was going to be in Calgary. I had two good distractions. Paul J. and his High Road production crew arrived and began shooting the documentary on me.
Yeah.
They're shooting a documentary, which we will know to be called Wrestling with Shadows.
Yeah.
It's great. We're going to review that later on down the road.
Yeah. It's just an incredible look inside everything that's, about to happen.
Yep. And the Calgary Flames, they wanted to buy the Hitman. Any new hockey organization, such as the Flames, were best suited to manage the team, and he agreed to sell it. So Bret's getting some money on the back end too.
Yeah.
Onward with this episode of Raw 213, June 9th, 1997. This is the infamous fight where it had happened earlier in the night, so we had to rewrite it. And Shawn says the unsafe work environment, and he could go to WCW with his friends, because he's got Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, and they're tearing it up, and Six Pac too, and they're tearing it up, making some time, but he leaves, and this is the second time in 4 months that he's left the company, and the tag team belts are vacant for the third time in 3 years.
Yeah,
so they're shit now again. Austin in the ring with Vince McMahon. And McMahon says that Austin did last night to Pillman, giving him a swirly at the King of the Ring, was dastardly. And Austin says he's proud of what he did, and he wishes there was other stuff in the toilet bowl. Can't wait to beat him up at home later. And give him the stunner and the 1, 2, 3. And carry his carcass across the locker room and finish the job. Vince says that there's an open challenge by Bret Hart made last night, 5 guys to take on the Hart Foundation Calgary Stampede. Austin says he'll be the first one in line and doesn't need any other wrestlers to accept the challenge, and he'll beat the whole Hart family up, and that's the bottom line because Stone Cold said so. And then we get the interview with Mankind and Mick Foley, and they're continuing on, and they show some clips from ECW. Actual clips from ECW.
Yeah.
So more working agreement there. Then the next match, like you said, was supposed to be Steve Austin and Brian Pillman, but the Hart Foundation come out and they jump from behind. He's hurt so bad that he can't go on with the match, but like you said, he's got a dinged up knee, and the Mankind comes out, and it's going to be Mankind and Brian Pillman. And during that match, Brian Pillman and Mankind, they go back and forth, and a double arm DDT, and he's got the mandible claw, and then the Hart Foundation for the DQ, and it's 5 minutes. And Stone Cold is hobbling down the ramp, and he's followed by Ken Shamrock, and they clean house on the heels, and Austin doesn't want any help, so he drops Shamrock for the stunner, and he flips off Shamrock and Mankind. That's the end of the show. And during the match, Vince mentions that Bret Hart and Shawn were taken out of the building for unprofessional conduct. So that's continuing there. On with the next episode. June 16th, 1997, episode 214 of Raw. The first bit of the show is Vince clearing up that Shawn Michaels is leaving the WWF, but he'll be back in 4 to 6 weeks. And Bret Hart's knee is still sore, and he'll be back as soon as he can. And they're gonna have a tag team tournament, and it's gonna be Stone Cold, and he gets to choose a partner of any choice, and they're gonna go against the winners of this tag team tournament. And Stone Cold is pissed, and he comes out, and Mankind wants to be his partner, and he says he doesn't want that partner, and Bret Hart and Pillman and everybody's gonna have hell to pay. And back from a commercial, and Brian Pillman is backstage in the interview, and he's reminding him that he got a swirly at King of the Ring, and he tells Vince that even though the Hart Foundation will be handcuffed to the ring post, that he's a convicted felon, and Shamrock has nothing to worry about because Stone Cold is going down the toilet, and he's basically gonna kill him. Then we get Steve Austin and Brian Pillman, Anvil out and Davey Boy, and they're handcuffed to separate ring posts, and Austin gives them chair shots, and they're stiff. Then Owen has a key, and Neidhart and them, and Neidhart and the rest of the Hart Foundation attack Austin for the DQ in this match, and Goldust comes down for the save, Ken Shamrock and Mankind, and they help Austin fight off the Hart Foundation, and the Legion of Doom come down as well. Yeah. So Goldust has that offbeat feud with Pillman because of the Marlena stuff, so that's why he's coming down.
Yeah, it's starting to get weird. And this is they had that beef, but this is the first time he's sort of going and joining this coalition of baby faces against the Hart Foundation. Because originally, I think the plan was to have Sid in Goldust place for the big tag at Stampede. Sid has a car accident earlier in the month, and he walks out of it like seemingly unscathed, but then his back is messed up, and I think there's some other issues going on. So Goldust is now firmly in on Team America, as it were.
Yeah. And so Austin and Shamrock and all them get on the mic and say that they're going to join forces to go against the Hart Foundation at Canadian Stampede. So your match is set.
Yep.
Then we get the next week, episode 215 of Raw, June 23rd, 1997. This is like a nothing type build. This is an interesting match. It's Owen against Goldust and Hunter Hearst Helmsley in a triple threat match.
Yeah, so they just started to work these in, only very recently, because you never used to see any sort of triple threat or fatal 4-way. I mean, obviously, earlier in the year we have the big fatal 4-way in your house. So this is still sort of a new thing in WWE, WWF.
Yeah. Again, a nothing episode. Bret is on the commentary talking about he and Neidhart are the best tag team, and Legion of Doom aren't anything.
Yeah.
So that would have been interesting. They never did face each other back in the day because they were both faces at the time, right?
That's right. Yeah, and I want to say by the time LOD, I think there was a little bit of overlap when the Hart Foundation was still a team after LOD showed up. But like you said, they were both baby faces, so they never really went. Yeah, because they helped Hart Foundation win the tag titles against Demolition. That's right.
Fuel that little feud.
That's right. Yeah.
They never did face each other.
Yeah, that's sort of a tag dream match there.
Yeah, that'd be nice. All right, on Bret shit talks the people, and we have Thomas Hearns, the Hitman Hearns.
The other Hitman.
Yeah, he's in the audience. And Bret says he's the chicken man, and the crowd goes wild to the chicken man.
You're just a little chicken, cheap, 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 cheap.
Yeah. And they go nose to nose, and the agents separate them. They start pushing back and forth, and JR says, "This is going to be a Sports Center highlight for Monday Night Raw."
No,
I don't know if it ever was.
No, I don't think so. Hearns was not the biggest name. I had never heard of him before, but and I think it was his only appearance on WWF. This wasn't like a Ken Shamrock situation where you would eventually come in.
Yeah.
Just sort of a one-off. Something they thought would pop the ratings or get them attention, but didn't.
Yeah, it's always the thing of bringing another sports celebrity in to hype the entertainment value or the crowd or the home team people there.
Yeah,
get somebody relative to that area. Yes, a local celebrity or someone who's advertising a movie. They always do that. Yeah,
I mean they went through a stretch. Where they were doing the guest host of Raw every week, and that was awful. But yeah, they've always been pretty always looking for that Sports Center moment. Even to this summer when they brought what was it, Lamar Ball?
Yeah,
and all those his sons and that whole segment. So they're always trying to get that.
Shaquille O'Neal has been involved.
Shaquille O'Neal is actually I mean we'll probably never get that Shaq versus
that
Big Show
dream match.
Yeah, but at least he showed up for a battle royal, and that was cool.
Next week is the Go Home Show. It's episode 216, June 30th, 1997. This is the Go Home Show for the Canadian Stampede. But it's another run-in DQ night.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going on.
Yeah. Main event, Steve Austin against Jim Neidhart. And the rest of the Hart Foundation are watching backstage, and Bret is not supposed to be there. Match is boring as hell, and they go to commercial, and then they come back, and then they go to another commercial, and then they come back, and Bret Hart shows up, and he's really there. And he attacks Shamrock, who was watching backstage. And then Austin starts to get the chain lock, and he breaks out of the chain lock and stomps a mud hole in Neidhart, and Bret Hart runs down for the DQ. 8 minutes. And Bret locks the ring post figure four on Austin, and Mankind comes down, and he gives Bret Hart the mandible claw. And Mankind has been wearing the Pick Me Steve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's courting strong to be on this tag team with Austin, and it's great. We get to see a little bit like the first the first time he's gotten to showcase his humor as a character, which
right.
we would obviously see much more of. And
he's
in that similar
delusional character, but
yeah.
He's lovable.
Yeah, this is, before Rock and Sock, this was Mankind being an unrequited tag team partner.
Yeah.
And it's pretty great.
Hart Foundation come down, and we get a schmaz ending, and that's the end of the night. And we're leading into In Your House, Canadian Stampede.
Yes.
Whew. July 6th, 1997. This is a great one.
Yeah. It's a stampede of a show, for sure.
I mean, Stampede Wrestling, a lot of these guys that are in the main event came from there. Of course, it's a great happening. And it's just so crazy that, Bret is coming up on this amazing heel run, that he hadn't had before.
Yeah.
And the timing worked out perfectly for Canadian Stampede for them to do a big match.
Yeah.
To where they could all be featured in the main event. And they could all... it's a different dynamic here, too, because they're basically faces here.
They're entirely faces. And it's one of the coolest things, that, in my opinion... in terms of any sort of character development or storyline, to have the Hart Foundation and Bret be the top heels in the United States, but as soon as you cross over that border to Canada, he's they're over the way that the crowd reaction is and the pop that they get is just it's almost on a Hogan level in the 80s. They're that over. And to work that to those sort of dynamics and just be able to flip the switch as soon as you're into Canada, it's one of the coolest things about this whole summer.
Definitely agree. This is one of the greatest In Your House pay-per-views, the WWF pay-per-views, I think, of all time. Yeah,
absolutely. Meltzer called it one of WWF's greatest shows ever, and I would agree with that. It's 4 matches, but they get progressively better, and it's just I don't know, start to finish, it's just a good quality. It's almost like one of one of the early takeover shows from NXT in terms of just that that build and the match quality, and it's just a hell of an event.
Before the event on July 3rd, Bret says in his book, Shawn agreed to come back. It's not like he had any choice. Vince had threatened to stop his $15,000 a week paychecks. I had hoped the little bastard would finally straighten up, but I was thrown for a loop when Vince told me that Shawn was going to guest referee my SummerSlam match with Taker at the Meadowlands on August 3rd. Shawn would turn heel on Taker, costing him the belt. Though I'd finally gotten another stint as champion, a sour feeling ran through me. As heels, we'd be in direct competition with each other again.
Yeah.
So, again, Shawn sees Austin as this badass. He starts cussing too. He starts wearing his bandana.
Yeah.
He starts coming down, talking this and that. breaking character. Then Bret Hart's a bad guy. He wants to be the bad guy too. Like Austin is the bad guy too, you know?
Yeah, he's doing whatever he can to make sure that he is like the center focus of whatever is going on. And it puts Bret in a tough spot. He alludes to it in the book, and he talks about it in Wrestling with Shadows too. He struggled. I mean, I think they allude to him struggling with the decision to turn heel. I think he wanted to do it. But he finally agrees to the heel turn. He's going full steam ahead with it. It's going great. And now he's the top bad guy. And now Shawn's going to turn, into turn heel. And like you said, they're in direct competition.
Like I said, Shawn is that guy at the party. That's the douche.
Yeah.
Like, he's just
through and through.
Man.
Yeah. And also speaks, I think, to Vince, pulling the strings, and I think you can see the writing on the wall that one of them is going to have to be gone, if he puts them in this position, that's just going to lead to the eventual explosion. That's going to rid him of one of them. Obviously aiming for it to be Bret.
Yep, and I think Bret's already had this tussle with going to WCW, so he's more comfortable in leaving anyhow. And he'd get paid off.
And he can know, like, deep down at least he gave it a shot.
Right. And Shawn just needs, like, an anchor. Like, someone to counter his deviance and kind of be the straight head for him. And maybe he'll find somebody like that in the next couple months. Maybe he'll be in WCW.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So this is a great event, like we said, in your house, Canadian Stampede. Hunter Hearst Helmsley in China. They get their follow-up match from King of the Ring, and it's nice. Pull-up pile driver, 1-2 no, mandible claw. There's no way to get a submission. China saves Triple H and crotches him, Mankind, on the ring post and back to the floor, and then we get them schmozzing into the crowd and a double count out. Yeah. And they're going to fight all throughout this night. They're going to go back and forth.
That's right, yeah. This is leading to a cage match at SummerSlam. That's going to be the big blow-off and probably the best match that they'll have to that point. But
agree.
Another solid outing from them, though, for this one. Yep.
Then we get this great Sasuke versus Taka Michinoku.
Yeah.
And these guys were brought over by Michinoku Pro. Great Sasuke was more or less a part of the package deal. He wanted to come over. He forced his way into this, and he said he had to come over, or he had to go over Taka, basically.
Yeah.
So that was the only way to get Taka involved.
Which is what they're, because eventually they're looking to put or have they already put the light heavy? Yeah, they're eventually looking to put the light heavyweight title on him.
They're building this light heavyweight division.
Yeah, and so he's one of the greats in the history of Japanese wrestling, and to have him and Taka go at it on pay-per-view, and they turn in a hell of a match. There's not any constraints or anything in terms of working the WWF style in this. Like they just let him go, and it's a good show.
Dude, the end is Taka hitting a belly-to-belly suplex for a 2, springboard drop kick, setting up for the Michinoku driver, 1-2, no. Then Taka is off the top, but Sasuke drop kicks him, and then we get an Asai moonsault, and then we get a Thunderfire powerbomb leading into a Tiger suplex, and 10 minutes. This is an intense match.
Yeah.
And for the win, Sasuke, like we said. This is awesome. This is also their counter for the Ultimo Dragon versus Dean Malenko, or Ultimo Dragon versus Rey Mysterio, or Rey Mysterio
that whole
Eddie
cruiserweight
Guerrero.
division that they have, that has been the saving grace of WCW's undercard for a couple years now. This is them trying to throw their hat into that ring.
Yeah, and it's It's nice. It's a little different for WWE. Although I don't ever really like their cruiserweight or lightweight division. They don't ever just let it be. Like it's always over. Like, I don't know. You can just tell it's like them forcing that.
Yeah, they always try to do it their way, to their own detriment at certain points.
Where I guess in carny aspects, you know how like they are back wrestling promotions, they would always have like a midget match or something. That's the way I feel WWF showcases it. It's like a special attraction midget match.
Yeah, like one of my main, like I love 205 Live. I love what, for the most part, what they've done with the Cruiserweight division now. But like I've never liked the purple ropes and the changing of everything. It makes it, they wanted to make it feel more special. I don't think it makes it doesn't feel more special to me. It feels like you said, like, all right, this isn't the actual show. This is just, It's
like for the women's match, they don't even switch up anything.
Yeah.
It's just part of the action now. And they never did before. I don't understand why guys who just weigh less than 220 or 205, they get this special, I don't know. They don't need it.
It makes it feel like they're not in the same class.
Yeah.
So
that's their answer there. Going on, Mankind and Triple H are still fighting. Then we get the WWF World Championship match. This is Undertaker against Vader with Paul Bearer. And Paul Bearer, talked about the family secrets. This is an okay match. I mean, it's all right for a big brawling hoss fight.
Yeah, it's definitely, I think it's a better match than what we would have gotten, which was they were gearing up for Ahmed Johnson versus The Undertaker, which, I mean, I don't know. Who knows? Ahmed was never in a main event title type spot like that before. Maybe he would have turned it on for it. But we were gearing up towards that, and then Ahmed unfortunately blows his knee out.
Yeah. Explain what was going to happen. Do you remember what was going to happen with Ahmed and Undertaker?
Not 100%. You might have to remind me.
So Ahmed was going to join the Nation and go heel.
Okay, yeah, I do.
What? Like?
Yeah, after feuding with the Nation for months and months.
Yeah.
And
the Nation of Domination is formed. This is also a background element right now that'll take a foreground. More as we cover in the weeks, we're going to go into depth. So, do you want to explain what the Nation of Domination was?
Yeah, the Nation of Domination is sort of a group of primarily African American wrestlers who are taking on what was the movement?
Well, right now it's the
Nation of Islam.
Yeah, the Nation of Islam. They're going to get some other members as they go along. I know D'Lo has made his appearance as well.
Yeah.
Then they'll get Kama, and we'll get some other members, but they're playing a role against The Undertaker and some other people as far as Owen and Davey. D'Lo was in that match. Yeah. And Kama was out there, so they're there now. Just clicked in my head. I remembered watching it. So they're background players, but they would have had Ahmed Johnson join them and then take on The Undertaker, which I don't see it. Could you ever see Ahmed as a heel?
Yeah, I mean,
maybe if you changed his name to like Big T or something.
Yeah, it's just weird to have, them have this intense feud. You look back to WrestleMania 13, the Chicago Street Fight with Ahmed and Legion of Doom against the Nation, and going all the way back to Farouk, taking Ahmed out right after he debuted. There's been this beef, and to have Ahmed just turn around and join the Nation, it felt weird. Definitely felt weird.
Yeah, not right. But yeah, Crush and Savio Vega are kind of they're fighting each other too, so this would have been This would have been interesting. Ahmed taking the lead, and he couldn't have talked. It would have been Farouk doing the talking, I assume.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this match is The Undertaker and Vader in that place, and it's not that great of a match, but there's some big blows back and forth that I will say that are pretty epic.
Yeah, great striking on both of two of the better strikers in the history of the game.
Yep. Taker does end up hitting the tombstone on Vader, and he pins him for the win. 12 minutes.
Impressive.
Yeah, and this is nice. This is ending their little cap that they had, their little feud before.
Yeah.
And Vader is no longer going to be in the main event picture, unfortunately, I guess.
Yeah, it goes back to, his program with Shawn sort of getting shut down, through no fault of his own, except, Shawn didn't want to work with him because he worked stiff. And so once that happens, he had some good matches here and there, but yeah, this is his last sort of look at a title match or anything like that in WWF.
Yep. All right, the main event. It's the Hart Foundation against Stone Cold Steve Austin, Ken Shamrock, Goldust, and the Legion of Doom. Man.
Just bell to bell. Just nonstop action. And the crowd dynamics are interesting, and so is the fact that the Hart Foundation are, it's not just the crowd reacting to them because they're from Canada. They're actually they're working as baby faces in this match. Mm-hmm. And the same goes for Austin, especially, and the other team. They're working heel. Austin does a great job, in a straight up heel performance, as he's, gaining more and more momentum as a baby face. This might be the last time up until, the big turn at WrestleMania 17 where he is working 100% heel.
Yep.
And he shines in that. But yeah, you used to have 10 guys in there, and it's just a classic matchup.
I'm gonna go through Bret Hart's book right here. On July 6th, the day of the Calgary show, I headed down to the Saddle Dome early with Julie and the kids and their friends. The High Road crew following us, Austin and Taker insisted that they not be filmed out of character. And I only had Paul J's word that I could ask him to edit anything out that I felt could hurt the business in any way. Again, I state, Bret Hart tells Paul J to edit anything out that'll hurt the business in any way.
That's big.
Because there's a lot of stuff left in there.
Yeah.
For what purpose? All right, Paul's crew was so good at what they did that most of the time I forgot they were even there. I went over everything with Patterson, putting the storyline and all the spots together. He wanted to involve my parents, Bruce, and the rest of the Hart clan, who would be seated down in the front, right behind the rail. Owen would appear to be hurt and would be taken out of the match, only to return as a big hero and catch the fall on Steve after he had an altercation with Stu and some of the Hart brothers. This would be a huge night for Owen, setting up a big match between him and Austin at SummerSlam. My anti-American rants had been going down big time with the Canadian fans. The Calgary crowd had shed its unusual polite shyness and was ready to explode. Canadian flags waved everywhere. Owen, Davey, Jim, and Pillman were pumped up and chopping at the bit. Brian reminded me of a happy jackal who'd befriended a pride of lions. We did this live promo from the dressing room that played on the big screen in the arena, and the crowd's response was so loud the brick walls shook. Leo and I had worked hard at polishing up Shamrock, who was really coming along now and pacing the dressing room anxiously. Goldust had a hot feud going with Pillman, and Legion of Doom couldn't have been more pumped. Hawk came to me knowing that it was me and the Taker who'd got the LOD hired back. He awkwardly fumbled for the words to tell me that this time he'd given us everything he had, adding, "This match is for your dad." Besides Stu and Helen in the front row was Alberta's premier, Ralph Klein. I was worn out. My knee hadn't been healed enough to wrestle safely, and I knew it. My doctor warned me that I needed to at least 3 more months. But I had been there for Vince, not to mention that I had waited my entire life for this night, wrestling at the top of my game in a really hot angle in front of the fans who had been there for me from the very beginning. I was home, and this was real. I'm going to skip to the end. Stone Cold jumped out and put the boots to Owen in front of Stu and Bruce. When he rolled Owen back into the ring, Bruce threw a drink at Stone Cold's back. Austin turned around and jerked Stu off by his feet and his lapels. The Hart brothers swarmed Stone Cold just in time. 19,000 screaming fans were about to do the same thing. Bruce was so mad about the couple off stiff shots Austin gave him that when I arrived to tip the balance and roll Stone Cold back into the ring, Bruce slammed a fist hard as he could into Stone Cold's kidneys. Austin managed to pull himself up, only to be schoolboyed from behind from Owen. Bruce erupted like a tornado on the floor, taking on every heel in sight. When the referee made an important 3 count, nobody was paying attention to Owen because everybody was riveted to Bruce's unscripted comeback. Owen was furious at Bruce for stealing his big pop. Do you remember that ending being kind of weird?
Yeah. I mean, obviously the real life, the real life repercussions of it, with Bruce, doing a really shitty thing,
right,
to his brother. That went over my head. It did strike me as weird that this guy was so heavily involved. I knew obviously they alluded to him being a brother of Bret and Owen. But yeah, it just struck me as weird that he would, kind of do that. And looking at it now, for him to go into business for himself, when this is such a big moment for Owen, is pretty shitty.
Yep,
for lack of a better word.
So this goes down. This is huge. The Hart family in the ring afterwards, and everybody's celebrating.
Yeah, and the crowd's losing it. In reading through through Uncle Dave's newsletter, he compares it to the crowd reaction and the celebration and the feeling in the building to when Kerry Von Erich beat Ric Flair in 1984, shortly after David Von Erich had passed away, and beat Flair for the title in Texas Stadium, no less. So I mean, that's sort of like hometown baby face.
A lot of emotion.
Yeah, and just clean win, no sort of schmaz or anything like that. Just the good guys, going out on top. And this family that had been, the family as far as wrestling in Calgary for, decades at this point. Getting to have that moment in the sun and celebrate, it's just the crowd was eating it up, and it's one of the greatest moments in Bret Hart's career. Yeah.
And then a great moment for Austin's career. He comes back.
That's right. Yeah.
He comes back and starts trouble with them again, and gets separated, and security and everything comes down, and they actually have to handcuff Austin and escort him out of the building in the arena and up the ramp, and he is flicking off all the fans with his middle fingers behind his back, handcuffed.
Yeah, classic.
This is classic B-roll for his character, but this is the first time he's like really giving it to the fans.
Yeah,
he playing up this heel, great, perfect, and they're eating it up too.
Absolutely.
So that is Canadian Stampede, a great pay-per-view.
Yeah, just solid 2 hours of wrestling.
Definitely check it out. 5 matches, they breeze on by.
Yeah.
This last one is 40-something minutes long, but it's incredible.
Yeah, it tells a story, and just everybody, like to what you read from Bret's book. I mean, everybody was giving it their all. Everybody was fully invested in it, and it's just one of my favorite matches, of all time.
Agreed. Jimmy, do you have any old wrestling shirts?
When I was a young man, I had a bunch of very terrifically 90s wrestling t-shirts. I had one Kane shirt that was long sleeves, and it was particularly just terrible. But sometimes I wish I could find some of those old ones, you know?
So do I. I had the Kevin Nash. He had the backwards Tupac bandana. That was too sweet. But I do know this awesome place. It's called thesavagestash.com. It's your wheeler and dealer for the best vintage wrestling shirts, merch, and everything in between. The absolute cream of the crop! Yeah! The Savage Stash.
The Savage Stash.
SavageStash.com. Newest thing I got was the fanny pack, man. It's awesome. It's neon orange, and then there's a neon green one. What more can you ask for? It's got the logo that says the Savage Stash. Put all your good stash elements in there.
Yeah, everybody's holding on to one of these. I've seen pictures with Okada holding a Savage Stash fanny pack.
Kenny Omega, possibly?
Yes.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
So good. Do yourself
Crazy.
a favor. Buy the fanny pack.
Yes. Go on there. TheSavageStash.com. It's the cream of the crop. Yeah. Dig it. Hey, Jimmy, you want to tell everybody about where we work on the side?
Absolutely. DCW, District City Wrestling.
And Jimmy, you're a commentator announcer there?
Yeah, I could call myself the voice of DCW if I was really feeling good about myself.
There you go. I like it. I like it.
Take that pride. You've got a hand in it as well.
Yes, I do. I do some production media there, and I also wrestle. Yeah, but check us out. You can find us on Facebook at District City Wrestling, or you can find us on Instagram at official DCW, or Twitter at official DCW. Check us out. Let us know what you think.
Hey guys, if you're into reading about pro wrestling and fans' perspective and fans' journey, check out my buddy Dan's zine. It's called Hot Tag. And he gets into his journey as a fan, as well as bringing in some of his friends. I wrote a piece for the third issue, so he has that. Check it out. It's at hottag.bigcartel.com. It's good stuff. Get into it.
So, the next night, Raw. It's episode 217, July 7th, 1997. We're going to start it off. The opening of Raw.
Last night at In Your House, Canadian Stampede, we witnessed a stunning display of blind...
It's front page news in Calgary as well as Edmonton.
The best there was, the best there ever will be. I think he deserves to speak what's on his mind, and the fans down there just don't like it.
Hypocritical because they're the ones that are into freedom of speech. He's telling the truth about Americans and that's all I've got to say.
After months of bashing WWF fans on American soil, the Hart Foundation returned to Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and received a hero's welcome. A raucous, partisan crowd applauded their every move, lauding their heroics, cheering each vicious and aggressive act. And when it was over, when the entire Hart family proudly poured into the ring to bask in the celebration, the boisterous crowd rose to their feet, berating the 5 Americans who lost the knuckle fight, lambasting and enraged Stone Cold Steve Austin as he was led from the ring.
They're pixelating the fingers.
Raw is War is north of the border in Canada.
Ooh. Nice little intro there.
Yeah, and it's such an interesting thing. I think in reading, I got a Uncle Dave quote, and talking about just how weird it was to have the entire babyface heel dynamic flipped, and sort of the aftermath of that going back to America. Not this episode of Raw is in Edmonton, right?
Yes, indeed.
Okay, yeah. So, but going forward, moving towards SummerSlam, he said that the WWF is the WWF trying to make sense of the aftermath and move things back to as they were is going to be intriguing. It's almost like you had this dream that you saw one of the best wrestling pay-per-view shows ever, but then you wake up the next morning and it's almost like it never happened.
Yeah, in a way, you're right. It's like a isolated event. That and the later coming up is a flag match.
Yeah,
they're just like these isolated events that.
Yeah,
I almost damn near forgot the flag match.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know. It's just crazy. This is all slowly but surely building. When you look at if you go on the WWE Network and you go to the Raw replays for 1997, you can just see from December all the way back to January, because they have them in reverse. They have December at the top and then January at the very bottom. You can just see the evolution of the show changing. You'll see the DX formation and everything, the Stone Cold character forming these.
Yeah, just look at the snapshot in the preview, and you can just see everything was changing so rapidly in this time. I mean, you look at the difference between WWF in 1997 and WWF in 92, and it's night and day. And you compare that to maybe WWF now versus WWF in 2012. It doesn't feel like that much has changed,
right?
You
No,
know?
yeah. Not that much at all. Yeah. They've stuck to this formula for a long time now.
Yeah,
these are the building blocks for that formula. Yeah. Even if you look back from 1997 compared to 1996. There's a big change. But if you look back at WCW 1996 on their recaps of Nitro, it's almost the same evolution of 1997 for Raw.
Yeah,
they're about a year behind, but yeah, they're Vince McMahon is very strategic in his business, and this is his baby, so he's taking calculated choices and measures to do this the right way. This attitude.
Yeah, and he's doing, like you said, doing it the right way, and the end goal is the same as the shedding of the cartoonish aspects of pro wrestling and getting into this this more edgy content. But WCW kind of jumps the sharks in certain aspects. Vince, being in this business for most of his life, is going to do this the right way.
Exactly. He just doesn't. Yeah. They're marketing it as a show for ratings. He sees it as a whole brand, this whole thing. This is, like I said, his toys.
Yeah.
He's not going to ruin his damn toys.
That's right.
Damn thing going on.
Till he's done with them.
Yep. Starting out this episode of Raw, Bret is out with Vince, and he's got a SummerSlam match set with Undertaker. And that's announced for the crowd. And he goes to the line, I've been told... America, love it or leave it, and I've loved leaving it. So he gets a good reaction there, and he's not necessarily anti-American. He's more pro-Canadian.
Yeah.
And Americans think that they're better. So he's still taking jabs, but he's saying he's not necessarily anti-American.
Yeah.
But then he makes a promise that he will not let Canadian fans down, and he'll have his 5th reign. And if he doesn't become the champion, and if he doesn't win, and he doesn't bring that belt back to Canada, because they know they're going back to Canada. Mm-hmm. Survivor Series, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is set. This is a thing. They've got this in their mind that, if Bret loses, he'll go away or something. There's something in there. He won't ever wrestle on American soil ever again. And then he calls out his lovable brother, Owen. And Owen's going to face Austin at SummerSlam. And Bulldog calls out Bulldog. And Bulldog's going to defend his European title against Ken Shamrock. So we got the Intercontinental Champion being defended against Austin from Owen. And then we got Davey Boy doing his part with the European Championship, and then Bret is going up for the title.
Yeah.
So they got a lot of gold coming up, maybe, possibly. Then they say, let's do the Canadian anthem. So the Canadian anthem is playing, and everybody's enjoying it, and Austin just sneak attacks with a chair, and Vince is like, how indignant. Yeah, this is awesome. Gets a
Yeah.
lot of heat for that.
Oh, yeah.
Later on, backstage, Austin talks with Vince about Mankind being his partner, and he's like, I don't need a partner. I don't like you. I don't like your damn bushy hair, ears. Like, just really getting on him.
Yeah.
And then we have the tag team finals. This is what I brought up earlier. Owen Hart and British Bulldog against D'Lo and Farouk.
Yeah.
It's Owen on fire in this match, man. He is still coming off that hot night from before.
Yeah.
He is great in this match.
Still in front of the Canadian fans and just soaking it up.
If anything, this is a match to see just because of the intensity of Owen just coming off this night.
Yeah.
It's not the greatest match ever at all.
Yeah.
Shenanigans are happening outside with Kama and Pillman and Neidhart and everybody. And Vince says, all hell is breaking loose. I don't know if Vince has ever said something like that before.
Yeah.
But we're getting more shades of that. British Bulldog and Owen win via countout because Owen runs in at the last moment. 9, 10, boom, Owen in. Yeah. And then we get Mankind coming out saying, he's going to be Austin's partner, yada, yada, saying, Owen and Bulldog don't have a chance.
Yeah.
Then this is an interesting matchup. We have Triple H against Stone Cold Steve Austin. It's actually a good match. Austin is still getting some cheers in the crowd too, though.
Interesting. Even in Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess because they hate Triple H, though.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see him getting more heel heat than Austin.
Yeah, and he's really getting the heat here. Triple H is a dastardly heel at this point. I hated him.
Oh,
I
me
really
too.
did.
Yeah.
Took me a lot to break that Triple H not liking him mold, and then I started to not like him again after I found out more about him and stuff. It's like, damn. Anyhow, in the match, trying to trip Stone Cold. And then we get Triple H with the chair, and he hits Mankind because Mankind gets on the apron to distract Triple H while he has the chair. And from behind, Austin with the stunner, 1, 2, 3. Stone Cold goes over Triple H. The guy who just won the King of the Ring loses to last year's King of the Ring guy.
Yeah, that's a good point. Battle of the previous 2 King of the Ring winners, and Mankind sort of sacrificing himself to, not only see Triple H lose the match, and but also help out his presumptive tag partner.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after that's done, Austin insults Mankind. You stupid son of a bitch. When the going gets tough, you will, you get it up. So he says, shake my hand and we'll be a tag team partner. And they shake hands, hug, and then he turns Mankind around and gives him a stunner. And JR mentions he's a rattlesnake.
DTA.
Yeah, and that's where we get Austin saying, DTA, don't trust anybody. You idiot. I won't never, ever be your partner. I ain't never. That's what he says. Yeah. I ain't never going to be your partner. And Mankind says Austin just made a big mistake because next week he's going to show him something that'll change his mind. So he's going to bring something up from the past. We'll see what that is. Well, the dark match for that night of July 7th was the Hart Foundation. Bret, Owen, and the British Bulldog against Steve and the Legion of Doom.
Nice.
Yeah, so nice little way to send everybody off.
Yeah.
The main event actually of the night was Bret Hart against Goldust. And that's actually a decent match. Bret is awesome in this match at the end where he's kind of like in peril and he just schoolboy O'Connor rolls type deal and comes up with the victory.
Yeah, classic Hart finish.
Yep. I love it. And this is also where Austin says that if he doesn't beat Owen, that he'll kiss his ass.
Yeah. So this is the very first time this stipulation has been used, and it's obviously we would go on to see the Vince McMahon Kiss My Ass Club, and they would just take it to further and further lengths. But yeah, this is it's definitely a little over the top, but more that edgy sort of content being worked in.
Yeah, there's a lot of stipulations coming up with these next bit of matches. Everybody's like, I won't wrestle here. Neidhart says he'll cut his goatee. Right.
Yeah, a lot of gimmicks.
Yeah. Next week, Owen and Hart, Davey Boy go against Stone Cold and whoever his partner will be. But he Gorilla Monsoon is going to handpick a partner for Austin himself, or what? We don't know. And Shawn Michaels is going to return. Great.
Big night.
Yeah, it's going to be in San Antonio. And that's this episode, 218 of Raw, July 14th, San Antonio, Texas. Woohoo! And they kick us off with that video package of how the Hart Foundation is loved in Canada, but now they're in Texas.
Yeah.
Let's go to that real quick.
Last week, the Canadians cheered wildly for their heroes, the Hart Foundation. In a raw display of emotion that borderline on sheer adulation.
Thank you for letting me still be your hero.
For 2 days, the Hart Foundation, well, they murdered their country.
I always love this background music.
Yeah.
We got gun control. We don't shoot each other and kill each other on every street corner.
The red and white of the Maple Leaf win high and mighty in Canada. However, tonight, deep in the heart of Texas, last week's most popular become this week's most wanted in the Lone Star State.
Whoa. Yeah, that's the little intro there. I love these intros that Raw used to have. Start losing that. So, from time to time on these newer episodes of Raw, you do kind of get something like that. But I hate to say it, I miss that Vince McMahon.
Yeah, or just some sort of that sort of voice of the WWF. I mean, they've had JR and Cole and all these people throughout the years, but there's something about him delivering those short little intros, and I feel like the intros that they do now are they're drawn out. They're if they feel like forever. And then that Vince just shows up and kind of he's talking fast and he lays it all out there in a minute, but in a way that gets you hyped to watch the episode.
Yep. This is basically the Hart Foundation coming out there hyping all of their matches. Owen saying Austin better pucker up. Davey Boy's talking about he's gonna beat Ken Shamrock, and then he'll eat a can of Alpo. Jim the Anvil Neidhart will shave his goatee. Brian Pillman has a match at SummerSlam where he's going to face Goldust, and he puts over Dusty Rhodes for being a terrible dad and neglecting his son. Ooh, Jesus. And he has a son that he's turned into a celebrated drag queen.
Man, hidden below the belt.
Yeah. And if Brian Pillman doesn't win, he'll wear a dress. Interesting. And then he finishes saying that might as well be one of Marlena's, and he promises her the dress won't be anything, and that he promises her that the dress won't be the only thing that he'll be getting into.
Yeah.
So, a little scathing bit by Brian Pillman.
Sleazy Pillman at his best.
Yep. Bret promises basically this is going to be a Canadian summer. The glass breaks and Stone Cold Steve Austin comes out and he yells and cusses at Hart, and Ken Shamrock walks out. And then the Patriot debuts.
Who?
Yeah. And then Psycho Sid returns.
Wow.
Huh? And then finally, San Antonio, the hometown boy, Shawn Micheals, he comes out. And it's these four guys. Who's going to be Austin's tag team partner? I don't know. Let's find out. Crazy, right?
Yeah.
Kind of good standoff.
Definitely.
Backstage with Mankind, Vince asks him a few questions, and we get no reply from Mankind. He's just sitting there rocking back and forth.
He's a cooking us something up.
Yeah. Then we go over to Paul Bearer, and JR told us that he's going to drop the bomb this week. And Bearer promises that next week he's going to prove that Kane is alive.
Kane is alive!
Yes, indeed. Then the Patriot is backstage, and he says he's not Stone Cold Steve Austin's partner. He just wants to beat up anybody who speaks out against America. And who is the Patriot?
Patriot is Del Wilkes, who I believe spent the majority of his career in Japan.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he gets a name there for the, the Patriot and all that good jazz. He's American.
Yeah.
Blue blood, Southern guy.
Yeah.
And he wrestled in WCW.
He did, yeah.
So they bring him on over. Next up, Vince is out with Shawn Micheals, and it's a hero's welcome back. And Michael says he's not 100%, but that's never stopped him before. And he's looking forward to Bret never wrestling on U.S. soil again. And he brings up SummerSlam. And he's not going to be a part of SummerSlam. Damn it, just like fucking WrestleMania.
Yeah, again.
He needs to be a part of it again. Yeah. And he'll set up the ring. He'll sell souvenirs. He does whatever. He's getting down on his knees about to suck McMahon off. Man, Vince says he'll grant him a ticket to SummerSlam because he doesn't want to miss The Undertaker beating Bret Hart and running him out of this country. So
again, second biggest show of the year. Like to your point, Shawn is not ready to wrestle for, say what you will about the injuries, but he needs to be a part of the main event. He was at the commentary table for WrestleMania 13, and he's going to somehow find a way to work his way into the main event at SummerSlam.
Yeah, that's nice. Or we get Ken Shamrock against Neidhart. Neidhart is terrible here. This is a 4-minute match of no selling. Hurricane Rana, sleep hold. Davey Boy comes out and attacks Shamrock. And then we get the Patriot running down, and he gives you some Uncle Slams. That's what they call them. But this is basically the Kurt Angle Olympic Slam. Yeah, and then Vince tries to speak with Mankind again. No response. Later, Vince talks with Steve Austin, asks him if Mankind is going to be his partner. And Austin says he doesn't care. He says he hasn't been 100% all year long, and every day he gets out of bed is a drastic measure. And that's the bottom line.
Wow.
Yeah, and he's not leaving San Antonio without the WWF Tag Team Championship. All right, so the vacant WWF Tag Team title match. It's Owen Hart and Davey Boy against Stone Cold Steve Austin and a mystery partner. Austin comes out, and he's alone, and he's brawling with Owen and Bulldog. And basically this is Mankind appearing on the Titantron, acting completely different, and he's wearing tie-dye and John Lennon glasses.
Yeah.
And who is he?
He is Dude Love.
Yeah. Oh, have mercy. Yeah, this is so lame. I hated this.
I grew to love it. It was just so out of left field. Dude Love, of course, is a young Mick Foley's wrestling persona when he's making home movies with his friends. Dude Love is his character, and so he's able to bring that back into a very over the top sort of hippie gimmick in 1997. And it was lame to a point, but it was also just so ridiculous. It was hard not to love it.
Yeah, I just didn't like it at the time as a child.
Yeah.
Just wasn't sold. I didn't like Mankind as a face like that, Dude Love. I don't know, it was just cheesy.
Yeah, it was definitely cheesy.
So, Dude hits a running knee in the corner and asks Steve if he wants to tag, but he's not ready. And they tag Davey, and then we get mandible claw, and Owen breaks it up, and we get a missile drop kick. And while the ref is busy with Owen, Austin sneaks in and gives a Stone Cold Stunner to the Bulldog, and Dude lays over for the 1, 2, 3, and we get new tag team champions. It's Dude Love and Stone Cold Steve Austin. We get JR saying it's the summer of love. Yeah,
and Austin's reaction is not very thrilled that he's going to have to be a team with this guy.
Yep.
He's weirded out by him, and you can just see it on his face. He's just sort of disgusted with the situation, even though he did walk out with the gold.
Yes, indeed. Back to episode 218, July 14th. The dark match main event was The Undertaker beating Bret Hart and Steve Austin in a triple threat match.
Yeah.
Crazy.
That is crazy. And
to retain the title.
Yeah, this is a match that they've been running on big house shows going back to before Canadian Stampede. They ran it at a house show in Los Angeles, and it was a particularly important house show because they were running in Los Angeles the same night as WCW. So again, just like starting to experiment with these triple threat matches a little bit, and yeah, it would have been cool to be in the building for that one. See those three. Yes,
indeed. This next night on Raw, July 21st, 1997, episode 219. We're back in Canada.
Again.
Yes, indeed.
And Vince must have had an eye to the schedule and really playing up this gimmick, because they're in Canada seemingly more than they, usually it's a couple times a year, but here just in one summer.
It's bouncing back and forth and back and forth.
Yeah.
This is definitely building for this feud in a nice, positive way, because we're getting different reactions, which is sometimes confusing because on TV you're like, so you get the choice of who you like,
Exactly, yeah.
And I definitely chose Bret Hart at this point.
Definitely.
We get a rematch of Vader and Ken Shamrock from their hard fight from Cold Day in Hell.
Yeah.
Which was reported Vader was really fucking fucked up from Ken Shamrock in that fight. He broke his nose in 2 places and everything.
Yeah, they stiffed the hell out of each other.
Yeah. And we get a triple threat or 3-way tag team match too with the Godwins, the New Blackjacks, which is JBL and Barry Windham, and then we get the Headbangers in there too. But that's interesting, a 3-way tag match. They're introducing these 3-ways a little bit more.
Definitely, yeah.
Playing off of ECW, I think is obviously at a 3-way by now, and I think a 3-way tag match. I think WCW too did a 3-way tag match with the Outsiders, Ming and Barbarian, and the Nasty Boys.
Yeah.
That's a good one, I guess. For nostalgia's sake, I like it.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. That's what we're about.
Yeah. That top of the show, Vince introduces the Hart Foundation, and Bret said he had a nightmare last week that he was in San Antonio and that it was good to be back in God's country. Wow. And then he brings up the point, did you ever know the USA is shaped like a big giant toilet bowl? It's because most Americans are full of crap. It's awesome, man. Love that. And then we get the US sucks chants. This is an interesting night. We're going to get Davey Boy Smith wants to go against Shamrock again tonight in Halifax. Owen wants to go against Steve Austin, and he calls him a pervert for wanting to kiss his butt.
Yeah, just delivers it with that classic Owen voice. You pervert.
Yeah, and he doesn't want him to kiss his butt, but Austin can suck his toes. I think you're the pervert. Owen.
Yeah, that's a little weird.
So they had talked about the flag match before, and Steve Austin comes out and he goes, "I'll be a part of your stupid little flag match for the night." And there's one American, and now we just need 2 more. So next up is a 7-minute video package highlighting how Mick Foley becomes Dude Love, and how Dude Love became Cactus Jack, and how Cactus Jack became Mankind, and how Mankind becomes Dude Love.
It's all a circle. Yeah.
It's all this cycle of how these characters evolved. And then Austin is telling the camera that he doesn't know if Dude Love is crazy, or if he's got guts. Either way, he helped Austin get the job done. And Austin still wants to go on the record saying he doesn't want a tag team partner, and that's just the way it is. Then we get Jim Ross bringing out Shawn Micheals to kick off the second hour. Woo! This is interesting because Shawn Micheals comes out, does a backflip straight off the top rope. That knee's looking great.
Yeah.
And Shawn in his book said he did this to piss everybody off. And this is really like big time badass for Shawn, you know?
Yeah. Here, I mean, he's pulled himself out of this proposed main event, you know, for the third time in a year. You know, supposed to be him and Bret at WrestleMania. Didn't happen. King of the Ring didn't happen. Now SummerSlam, not going to happen again. And to go out there and flaunt, you know, the fact that he isn't really that banged up, and especially with the knee that he's been complaining about, you know, he's able to do backflips on, is just a big old fuck you to, you know, seemingly the entire company.
Yep. So he calls JR Girth Brooks.
Ow.
That's awesome. Yeah. He's saying some shit towards Canada, and he brings out some small little flags and sticks them in his shorts. And he's going to be the next member of the USA team tonight in that flag match. And there's some people that are genuinely pissed at Shawn. And Shawn is saying that he wants Bret, and he's going to get to Bret, and this is going to be the first time in over a year that they'll be in the ring together tonight. But Shawn mentions that he would do anything to be at SummerSlam. And he begged and pleaded, and Shawn is now part of the main event. And he's going to be the special guest referee. Fuck. Yeah, the stipulation is that he can't show any favoritism towards anybody, The Undertaker or Bret. And if he does, he can't wrestle in the U.S. soil ever again. This is a nice little setup.
Yeah, it's going to be a hell of a promotion in Canada after this is over, if none of these guys can wrestle in the U.S.
Yep.
But yeah, there he is, and you know, he's finally found his way into the main event, and he's made himself the center of attention yet again.
Yes, indeed. And then we get Bret, Owen, and Bulldog coming down to confront Vince about this special referee decision. And Vince stands up to Bret, and he knocks his headset off. And I'm just going to play this clip and cue this up real quick.
This is a good moment.
This is the Raw. Bret and the Hart Foundation are coming down. Bret is pissed off, approaching Vince McMahon, pointing. Vince is trying to ignore it.
He's in commentator mode right now.
Yeah.
Swerve, throwing out that insider language.
Crazy how he's bringing that up.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Bret's coming back. Knocks the headset right off Vince. Oh my God, Vince looks so pissed.
Yeah, the look on Vince's face rivals any look that he shot Austin in the years to come.
He points at Vince. Yeah. Vince smacks it away. He points back at him. Vince tells him to control himself.
Yeah.
He's going back, and now he tussles with Vince.
Yeah.
Vince is pulling the shirt over Bret's head. Yeah. Almost like a hockey fight. They just have each other's collars, basically.
Yeah.
This is wild, though.
This is uncharted territory.
Oop, cameraman falls. Patriot in for the save. Owen takes him down. Schmaz ending. But yeah, just interesting.
Definitely. And
right there.
At a time where if you change the channel, the in WCW, the NWO is getting bloated, and the storylines are starting to get a little convoluted with Eric Bischoff being part of the NWO. But yeah, if you want to see real, like this is as close to real in terms of what's going on backstage being portrayed on television. Yeah,
Vince is acting like he's trying to avoid the whole situation. The acting is brilliant here. The part where where Bret brings up how dare you have him referee my match? This is going to be a swerve. Are you trying to swerve me?
Yeah.
This is the first time I'm hearing swerve from anybody in WWF.
Yeah.
And Vince is still looking angry as Bret Hart walks off as we go to a commercial break, and he's still trying to gather his composure when they come back from a commercial. But I believe this is, like I said, this is where they set the ball in motion. They knew this was an out to get Bret out. He's got to be like screwed in a way to where he can look good, go to another company without being tarnished, you know? Yeah. And then this sets up a mega heel for Shawn Micheals, a mega heel push to go against the badass Stone Cold. This is setting everything up in place right now. And I believe that they had those chess pieces aligned already.
Yeah. Do you think Bret knows where this is going at this point?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Having the documentary film there, crew, that plays into it a lot because they can edit things out and save the face and also turn it into a way where he can monetize money for himself and the WWF for Vince turning into this heel character. And Bret basically still looks good in this. I think there's a lot of things there.
Definitely.
There's a lot of elements.
Yeah.
And if saying the swerve thing, that just threw it right there.
Yeah,
for me.
Yeah, it's such foreshadowing there, and I think you're right when you mention the documentary, and we'll get into it more. Once we sort of cover that. But the idea that they're there because Vince is letting them be there. Now Vince doesn't have control the way that Bret does over what makes the cut and what doesn't, but just the fact that they're there and this is being put out there for the world, I think that sort of lends itself to the idea that, Bret might know, he might have known more than he, would like to let on.
Yep. And there's elements of the film that are shown but aren't, or we only get the audio of. And I'm like, that's kind of fishy.
Yeah.
Like, why let the camera roll there?
Why would somebody be wearing a wire, Yeah.
So continuing on with the night, we're going to wrap this up. We got 218 and then this is episode 219. We're going to wrap up. Then we have episode 220. That'll lead us in for the go home show for SummerSlam. We're going to wrap this episode up real quick. The Undertaker, Steve Austin, and Dude Love go against Davey Boy Smith, Bret Hart, and Owen Hart in a flag match. Before that, they had beaten up Shawn Micheals backstage, and he refused any help from Vince McMahon or any of the agents. And they're playing up Vince McMahon as definitely concerned about Bret Hart as this major problem for him. The match it's all right. It's a decent flag match. It's one of the better flag matches that I've ever seen.
Yeah, there's flag matches or any sort of go not that any sort of hey, there's a thing in the corner, go get that. I mean, I've never been too big a fan of those.
Yep. Towards the end, Austin makes a tag to the Undertaker, and he's heating up the Hart Foundation chokeslam to Davey Boy Smith into a tombstone attempt. Bret nails the Undertaker from behind to break it up, and they get into fisticuffs, and they hit a double KO spot, and the Undertaker sits up, and then he goes for that flag, and Owen slows him down, and then Bret and Owen are racing for the flags on opposite corners, and Brian Pillman comes out of nowhere and stops the Undertaker from grabbing the flag, making it easy for Bret to get it, and the Canadians win. And there's the Canadian crowd going wild.
Yeah, one more big triumph in Canada before there's some not so triumphant moments for the Canadians coming up soon.
Yep, back on to America. Born in the USA. It's like Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Can't get more American than that. July 28th, 1997, episode 220 of Raw. This is just the go-home show.
Yeah.
It's all right. It's leading up for everything that's going to happen at SummerSlam. Jim Ross meets with the Hart Foundation without Neidhart in the ring. And Bret might be suspended or fired for what he did to Vince McMahon and Shawn Micheals. And the WWF has decided to go ahead with the SummerSlam main event either way. Next week, however, Gorilla Monsoon will name the commissioner, and they're going to figure out the entire situation, and it's going to be reevaluated. And Bret talks about how the American justice system is poor and how O.J. Simpson case is the prime example.
Yeah.
Americans go about anything to screw you.
Do anything to screw you.
Yep.
This is also the promo, I think, where he says he again refers to the United States as one big toilet bowl.
And Pittsburgh is right where you would give it a...
Oh, yeah, no. If you were going to give the United States an enema, you'd stick the hose right here in Pittsburgh.
Yep. The crowd gets really rambunctious here. This is awesome.
Yeah.
And then he switches gears over to the Patriot towards the end for sticking his nose in his business. And he wants a match with the Patriot tonight. So that's all right. Building up this Patriot, he just
came from thin air, supposedly, and now he's in the main event with Bret.
Yeah, and I kind of liked him as a kid. I was like, I don't know. I always liked people in masks.
Yeah, I was definitely intrigued by that.
Yeah. So basically, after all that hell that we got put through between Triple H and Mankind, like you said, they announced this steel cage match. Yes. That's awesome. It's going to be awesome. And Triple H says he's going to see how big of an animal he can be. Sweet. Then we get the tag team champions, Steve Austin and Dude Love, against the Godwins.
Oof.
Yeah. Owen Hart and Davey Boy come out for commentary, and Dude and Austin beat up Phineas, and this is like a nothing 4-minute match. And of course it leads to like a 4-on-2 fight until the LOD run down and scare off the Godwins and Owen and Davey Boy. So nothing. Okay, then we get a recap of Soul and Spirit leading into the Heart and Soul of SummerSlam 1997. That's the next show that we're going to cover. They show us clips of Undertaker's very first match at the 1990 Survivor Series, where he faced Bret Hart. That was his first opponent in that match. Pretty cool.
That was awesome.
Vince brings out Shawn Micheals, and he says he doesn't apologize for anything. He admits that he's a lot safer at ringside than he is back in the locker room, and that's probably true. With that said, Shawn Micheals is going to join us for color commentary for the main event. Awesome. Here's the main event. Bret Hart against the Patriot, and it's like a 6-minute match. Patriot tries to deliver the Uncle Slam real quick in the corner, but Bret kicks off the turnbuckles, and they both fall backwards into the referee, and Bret hits Patriot with the pile driver for the cover, but Hebner is down. Bret shakes Hebner a little bit and covers again, but Shawn sneaks in and pulls Bret off the pin. Bret is rightfully pissed, and Bret is yelling at Shawn from the ringside, and Patriot schoolboys Bret for the 1, 2, 3. What?
Just pinned Bret.
Yeah.
Where did this guy come from?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, that's like, what I remember thinking.
Yeah, so Patriot gets a win over Bret. Bret is so fucking pissed. Shawn Micheals is on the table dancing, provoking Bret to fight him, and he's going towards him. They're trying to separate him, and then boom, or bong, or bong.
Boom.
Yeah, we'll have to get a better gong sound effect.
Yeah.
So, Undertaker comes out, and they lace the place up with his theme, and it's a go-home show for SummerSlam 97, which is a match between Bret Hart and The Undertaker for the WWF Championship with the special guest referee, Shawn Micheals. Then we have Steve Austin against Owen Hart for Owen Hart's Intercontinental Championship.
And that's a little bit of pride.
Match. Yeah, so there's some things that are going to happen at this event that are going to change this the course of everything that we've been laying down.
Yeah, it's definitely a big turning point.
You ready for it?
Absolutely, yeah. This is one of my favorite SummerSlams.
All right, well, I think we'll catch you next. Well, let's see. What's today's date? Today is
we're recording this on July 26th. And so I think the 3rd is a week from today, just about, something like that. Yeah.
So in 2 weeks, we'll be back with an episode,
Yeah.
and we'll cover the 1997 SummerSlam. And later this month, we are going to have a bonus episode for you
Yeah, we
guys.
promise. We've been talking them up, and we are going to be ready to go with them very soon.
Yep, this bonus episode is just going to be Jimmy and I at first. It's going to be the SummerSlam 1992. That took place on August 31st, 1997. But obviously a lot later in the month than this 1997 one. But this event is the one from London where Bret Hart is defending the Intercontinental Championship against the British Bulldog.
Yeah.
A great event at Wembley Stadium. But it was originally supposed to be Bret Hart against Shawn Micheals.
Yeah.
Part of the reason we're covering this, because it's going to be the 25th anniversary, just another seed or another part of this epic tree that has been growing between the rivalry of Bret Hart and Shawn Micheals.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what awesome also drops a big walnut of Stone Cold Steve Austin and grows the Attitude Era.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Please write into us. You can write us at WretroMania Podcast. That's WretroMania with a W. WRETROMANIA podcast at gmail.com. We want to hear back from you. If you guys have any notes, any complaints, any love you want to send, come on through. Drop us a line. We'll read it back on the show too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you want to get a hold on Jimmy on Twitter,
at Jimmy_Price, and you're also on Twitter, or
no? I'm not on Twitter yet, but I'm gonna make us a RetroMania Twitter.
Okay,
we do
cool.
have a RetroMania Facebook
yeah.
now, so you can look us up there. You can find us on any podcast app, basically in iTunes too. Just search RetroMania with a W, and you'll find us on Molehole Radio.
Yep.
That's our host. Thanks to them again.
Definitely.
Check out some other podcasts from them called Podcast the Movie. That's pretty neat. And then the infamous Villains, I believe that's another one.
Yeah, a lot of funny, interesting stuff going on Molehole. We're stoked to be a part of it.
Yes, indeed. So thanks again, and until next time, we'll catch you on that SummerSlam trip.
Yep. Thanks for listening. Good stuff. Get into it.